Think of this, guys. Think of this. We go all the way back to Barack Obama coming in office. Before he even went in office, I remember I was on the air as a radio host, and actually I was a co-host of a show back then in 2007, and somebody came on and said, yeah, this guy running for president, Barack Obama, you know, he doesn't even have a birth certificate. He's not even from here. I was nice to the guy, but I was very skeptical. And I was so naive back then to say something like, well, no, they wouldn't let that happen. You know, who's they? You know, the DNC, the RNC, the federal government, the Supreme Court, Congress. I don't know. I just had enough faith in America that they wouldn't let some person that didn't have proper identification be the commander-in-chief of the #1 superpower military in the world. And so I said, I doubt that. I really think you're off base there. Well, anyway, let me just speed up. As time went on, it became very apparent that something was just smelling. And so Obama goes in office, and this thing is still dogging him. So up comes the little short form. And I think there were 2 short forms, weren't there, Mike? I mean, the first one had some problems, then another one showed up, something like that?
Yeah, the first one was actually a forgery, and it was admitted to.
Yeah. I mean, how does that happen? And with a president? I mean, I could see how that would happen with a taxi driver or something. Nothing disparaging against taxi drivers. I'm just saying. I mean, I could see how that would happen. But the president?
Carl, if I could make one other point on that.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
That fraudulent short form registration number. How does a forger get that?
Yeah, I know. This is such a convoluted mess. But anyway, follow me, guys. So we're watching this unfold, and then that debate goes on for the longest, for almost 2 years, and along comes this guy named Donald Trump. He's not even announcing that he's running for president back then. He might have hinted around to people, but there's been no formal announcement. But he's got some inside scoop. He's a billionaire. He's got his own investigators. You know, he knows people like Sheriff Arpaio. He lives in Arizona. And he sees this debacle going on, and he loves our country back in 2010. He's concerned, so he uses his bully pulpit to challenge Obama. Look, get rid of all these short-form junk pieces and put if you're from here, if you've got a birth certificate, put it up there. Everybody else would. You're the president. Good gosh, man. What's wrong with you? I mean, he just shamed him and shamed him and shamed him. And that was about the time that Jerome Corsi was getting ready to release his book, Where's the Birth Certificate, and all of his investigation. So in the meantime, the long form goes up, and that's when all of this investigation ensued through Maricopa County, Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He was petitioned by a bunch of his we might have been defrauded in our election. You're the sheriff. What if this guy's birth certificate is fraudulent? What if it's fake ID? Please investigate this. So Sheriff Arpaio gets a hold of Mike Zullo, his chief investigator of the cold case posse back then, says, look, I want to be the one to clear this guy. Please do this. Let's check this out. Mike Zullo doesn't know anything about anything back then as far as the birth certificate went. He didn't pay attention to that. He didn't care. He was just a lawman, a cop, an investigator. He walks in, he tells the sheriff, yes, sir, I'll do my best to clear it. And so he looks at it, and cold case posse, they do their investigation, and he goes to the sheriff and says, Sheriff, I got bad news for you. This thing stinks to high heaven. And the sheriff said, oh, my gosh. And he said, are you sure we can't get this cleared? And Mike Zullo says, Sheriff, we cannot clear this document. It's got too many problems. Well, anyway, so subsequently, 2 press conferences were held showing all the evidence they had. The media, what'd they do? They challenged Arpaio's authority to investigate it. They didn't even look at the evidence. They didn't talk about the evidence. It was like, well, what authority do you have to do this? Well, can you imagine if Donald Trump, if it was legitimately accused that he was absolutely using fake documentation for all of his identifying documents, and the media showed up and said to the investigators of that crime, what authority do you have to do that? We don't want to talk about the evidence you've collected. We want to talk about what authority you have. I mean, that's surreal. It was surreal. When Mike Zullo and Sheriff Arpaio knew, oh, my gosh, we've got a national obfuscation going on coming right out of the White House, and the media is involved. And so anyway, we know the rest of the story. It starts going forward. And then 5 years of all of these investigations ensue. The next thing you know, it's getting closer and closer, and along comes another sheriff's office election, another sheriff's election coming up. But right prior to that, you've got all these suits being filed or cases being filed against Arpaio, and he's disobeying federal orders and all these allegations. He's dragged into a federal court, and shortly before an election, and then finally a federal judge determines that he is guilty of a misdemeanor contempt of court charge. So now they've got a, quote, criminal charge against him right before and right during his election. And then we find out that George Soros comes in to Maricopa County, pumps millions of dollars against Arpaio into Arpaio's opponent, and conducts this big multi-million-dollar campaign against Arpaio. And in the meantime, he's been dragged into federal court and accused of or charged with contempt of court, misdemeanor, fine, and or a small jail sentence. So they're thinking, watch me now, because I'm going to bring it up in today's headlines. Here's what I believe the plan was. This birth certificate is an absolute fraud. Mike Zullo knows that. Sheriff Arpaio knows that. I know that. 2 digital document international entities know that and have signed affidavits to it. Other witnesses know that. We know this. It is an absolute ground-up fabrication. It's a fraudulent document. Guys, there are at least 5 crimes involved with that. Doug, you know this. Number 1, if you create a false document for ID, that's a felony. Number 2, if you possess false ID, that's a felony. Number 3, if you use it to identify yourself, that's a felony. Number 4, if you post it on a government website as your identification, that's a felony. Number 5, if you use that ID to command the U.S. military, that's high treason, maybe. So the point is, crime after crime after crime are potentially associated with this document, and the deep state knows it. So Congress won't touch it. The media won't even address the facts. They won't even address the forensic analysis. They've never, no media source has ever come forward, no major media has ever come forward and said, here's the forensic analysis. Here's what they found out. Look at this video. Look at these documents. Here are the affidavits of the 2 companies. Nobody's ever done that. And then, of course, you've got the FBI sitting on this information. We're all scratching our heads. Why are they sitting on it? Now we find out that James Comey's a part of the deep state and was all along. He was in the tank for Hillary. Well, why is that important? Because watch, guys, Hillary Clinton was sure she was going to win the presidency. Now we've got these texts coming out of the FBI from a high-ranking official and his mistress. They're saying, you know, we got this Trump dossier. We got to keep him out, but there's nothing there. There's just nothing there. And then they're saying, the secret society has met, and we've got to have an insurance policy, and we've got to have a plan B. What's all of this about? It's about Donald Trump winning the presidency. Want him to win the presidency when just a few years prior he was the hero of America, because he's the one that started the whole birth certificate thing. And if he wins the presidency, he will be the executive officer who can make this happen. He can put judges on benches. He can put Supreme Court justices in. He can put a new cabinet in. He can appoint new FBI directors and CIA directors. He can appoint a new DOJ head, and on and on. They were thinking, oh, my gosh, we can't let this man win. And who's Donald Trump? He's a businessman. He's not a politician. He beat the Clinton machine. He beat the Obama machine. He beat the DNC machine. He beat the Jeb Bush machine. He beat the whole Bush machine. He beat Marco Rubio machine. He beat the guy from Canada. I can't remember his name right now. He just walked through a field of 17 seasoned deep state candidates and beat them all. I mean, the hand of God, I believe, was on that. And they freaked out, guys, because what they thought, Hillary Clinton was going to hands down win this. They were going to make sure. They'd use the hammer. They would use thin thread. They would use whatever they had and all of their wranglings to make sure Hillary Clinton won. And if she won, you had Joe Arpaio they were going to put in a jumpsuit with handcuffs They were going to take him and put him in jail. All of the media would be there clicking pictures of Joe Arpaio in a jumpsuit and handcuffs. He would be deemed this thug, run-of-the-mill criminal, so that if he ever mentioned birth certificate again, they could say, oh, yeah, look who's talking about the birth certificate, this convicted, lying, criminal, contempt of court, idiot sheriff. That's what they were planning. Hillary Clinton was going to bury everything with the help of James Comey and all of the other deep state guys, and it all fell apart when Donald Trump won the election. And they are terrified that this information is going to come before a congressional committee or a real law enforcement agency of the federal government or a real DOJ. It's all going to be exposed. People would go to prison for the rest of their life over this. The DNC would never win another election in our lifetime and probably in our grandchildren's lifetime. They know this. They're guarding it with their life. They're playing for blood. This is deadly. They're trying to get Trump out before he gains momentum, before he gains the power he needs to bring this to light. Because everything Mike Zullo and I are talking about, Donald Trump knows. People know. There are congressmen that know. There are law enforcement officers that know this. You just have to get the dominoes in place. And in the meantime, the deep state, including high-ranking officials in the FBI, we now know from their texts, they are viciously, desperately trying to take him out of that office. Does that make sense, guys?
What an exquisite, very eloquently done opening statement and closing argument. I cannot think of anything greater, and this ties into everything we're seeing today.
Yes.
And Mike Zullo and Sheriff Arpaio, Carl Gallups laid the foundation, exposing the fraud. The enormity of this is just mind-boggling. Wow.
It's probably the most devastating crime committed against a government in the history of the world. And the reason I would say it like that is because you have to put everything in context. Have other crimes been committed that have been atrocious against government officials and kings and emperors and all that? Of course. Caesar Augustus and and all of that. But the reason I say in the history of the world is because there has never been a more powerful military engine, a more powerful economic engine, a more powerful, blessed, unbelievable nation in history, on the planet. And for it to be usurped by a man using fake ID to run our government, to run our military, to run our economy, and then the whole deep state engine and three-letter government agencies using hacking software go into action to thwart the entire, perhaps, electoral system one way or the other, and to install a man who does not have proper documentation, and then cover it up to threaten, to obfuscate, to do all they can, media, judges, congressmen, whatever it takes to cover their crime, their potential crime. This is my opinion. That is probably the largest crime ever committed against a government and a nation of people in the history of the planet.
Absolutely. Wow.
It's foundational to everything that's on the news right now.
It is.
Precisely.
And I wonder, as many people have talked about, if Trump, if this was one of the first things he looked into when he got in office, obviously he was one of the ones who was brave enough to be very public about this issue when it was so unpopular.
And still is.
He was talking about it during his campaign until the media put pressure on him, and I think Bannon or somebody talked him into saying, look, just say that you believe he was born in the United States and say that's all you're going to say about it, and this will go away so we can win this election. And listen, Mike Zullo and I called each other that night. I told Mike, I said, I agree with what Trump just did. I know it hurts my heart to hear him say it, but he's got to win the office if we're going to get anything done. And if he keeps talking about the birth certificate, they're going to crucify him. And Mike Zullo agreed. So we watched it work, and it worked perfectly. And he's in office. And that's why the deep state is going into action now. They got to get him out of there, guys.
Exactly.
Carl, let me interject something. let me interject something here.
Yeah.
As far as Breitbart and Bannon are concerned, obviously there was the death of Mr. Breitbart right as we were doing our first press conference.
Yes.
But I have a personal relationship with someone who was a high-level reporter for Breitbart and was very, very good friends with the deceased. And he told me that Bannon knew all about the birth certificate, and Breitbart were under Bannon. They made a decision not to deal with it because they didn't want to be tattooed and labeled as birthers. And they have shied away from it ever since. As a matter of fact, Bannon hates this issue, hates it. And I won't tell you how I know that, but trust me, I know it.
Yeah.
He hates this issue, doesn't want it brought up. Now, that's a decision from a news outlet that really could have done something with this.
Yeah.
And elected not to do it.
Yeah.
Because they were fearing of their own reputation.
Yeah.
Rather than looking into this like everybody is looking into Donald Trump right now 24/7, that if the guy fell off the curb, it would be a major breaking story that he fell off because he was drunk or on drugs. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that they're doing to him today. What would have happened if they scrutinized Obama like they're scrutinizing Trump right now?
He would have never withstood the scrutiny itself. And of course, just as kind of an end note to this, a November 2017 article in the Business Insider, businessinsider.com, speaks to Donald Trump's continued, even though it's not overt, but subtle implication or inferences about the validity of the document. And it's interesting because I thought of you, Mr. Zullo, in a tweet from Donald Trump, and this is contemporaneous to your investigation, August 6, 2012. An extremely credible source has called my office and told me that certificate is a fraud. That was tweeted out at 3:23 p.m., August 6, 2012. And I thought, could it be? What a wonderful presentation. And you've brought us to the absolute end of the program. Wow, this is for the record books. Man.
It's a shame. It's a shame that we're sitting here talking about this. It's a sin that we're talking about this. This should never be in the United States of America.
Indeed. And I pray that we will see this resolved. Your hard work, both of your hard work, brought back out into the open and exposed. This fraud exposed for what it is. Gentlemen, thank you so very much for appearing on the Hagmann Report. Whoa.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, Doug and Joe. Thank you, guys. God bless you both.
God bless you.
Thank you. It's an awesome show.
Wow. Folks, that'll do it for us. Spread the word about this particular episode. We owe such a debt of gratitude to Mike Zullo, to Carl Gallups, to Sheriff Arpaio, to every citizen journalist, everyone who has fought for the truth to come out. This is wow. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Until next week, may God bless.
The bottom line synopsis of the Sheriff Arpaio Mike Zullo Obama fraudulent birth certificate investigation as of their December 15, 2016 press conference in Phoenix, Arizona is as follows. We now know that the Obama certificate of live birth posted on the White House website in April of 2011 is a forensically proven fabrication, forgery, and thus a fraudulent document. Not only do we know this, but we know how it was done, and we have at least one of the source documents from which the forgery was made. There are 9 points of currently discovered forgery artifacts verified to have been placed on the Obama birth certificate from this source document, utilizing a digital cut-and-paste method. 2 different digital document examiners on 2 different continents using 2 different methodology, each examination entity unaware the other was working on the same material. Both of them arrived at similar conclusions. the Obama document is a forgery and was digitally fabricated. Each of these document examination entities are renowned in their field. They are used to train law enforcement agencies, and they hold unimpeachable credentials and records of success as expert witnesses. One is located in the United States, the other is in Europe. The evidence indicates that words, date stamps, and the letter X used to fill in certain boxes on the Obama fabricated document were in fact digitally lifted from a certified Hawaiian birth certificate of one Johanna Ani and pasted onto the Obama fabrication template. The amazing correlations to these forensic facts are that the date stamps, 2 of them, were transported from the Ani document to the Obama document and applied at the exact same angles for both of the stamps, a virtual impossibility unless digital cut and paste forgery is involved. The other anomaly is that the remaining words that were transferred from the Ani certificate to the Obama document were lifted as a group, and they were placed on the Obama document at the exact same relational juxtaposition to each other. Added to these statistical impossibilities was the placement of an X from the Ani document to the Obama document. The X was not only copied from the Ani birth certificate, but that X was originally placed a bit outside of its original placement box, and the top right-hand part of the X then bled over into a portion of the word above it. Amazingly, when the X from the Ani document was lifted, so was the complete box in which it was originally found, as well as that portion of the bleed over and the word above the box. They are an exact match on both documents. This startling fact is what prompted the U.S. document expert to declare this piece of evidence as the nail in the coffin in his official executive summary report of his overall findings, declaring the Obama document to be a forgery. Now, what remains is the question, why? None of the possible answers to this question are good ones. In fact, the answer may go directly to grave national security concerns. If Congress can investigate steroid use in baseball and underinflated footballs in the NFL, shouldn't they be held accountable in the complete and exhaustive investigation into this latest criminal investigation finding concerning Obama's birth certificate? If not, they are complicit in this potential crime of the ages.
The Satanists wanted to install their own tribute, a pagan idol, on the Capitol grounds, right next to the Ten Commandments.
Billions around the planet are witnessing a world in the grasp of sadistic spiritual darkness. This unholy alliance has infected our governments, our religious institutions, and our societies. The world appears to be unraveling. But can the evil behind these dark supernatural forces be defeated? Is everything playing out just as the Bible predicted it will in the final days? At last, you can know the answers to mankind's most urgent questions and learn your destiny among today's events in the new, unprecedented work taking the prophecy world by storm. Gods and Thrones, Nakash, Forgotten Prophecy and the Return of the Elohim by best-selling author, former decorated law enforcement officer, and senior pastor Carl Gallups. This changes everything. Available now wherever fine books are sold.